On this special 3-part series of The Significance, we're joined by Victoria Laurie and Karissa Eve, two women who help illuminate what lies beyond loss and how meaning continues long after goodbye. In our final chapter, we reflect on connection, purpose, and the eternal thread that ties us to something greater. This is the conclusion of A Significant Summit. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The Significance with Tyler and Signy starts now. One thing that comes up again and again in my own life, and I'm sure in yours as well, is guilt. Clients who are caretakers often carry such heavy guilt after a loved one passes away because maybe they stepped out of a room and missed their final moment. Maybe they were short-tempered from just pure exhaustion. Maybe their last words were an argument. That weight can last a lifetime. Victoria and Karissa, what do you see when you tune into this kind of guilt? And how do our loved ones on the other side view those kind of moments?
In my experience, it's their greatest desire to free the person that I'm reading for from those burdens and those chains. And sometimes they will even repeat, you did enough, you did enough, you did enough, to try to get that through. Or I've heard more than probably I can count. I know you struggled with whether you should give me the morphine or not. It was the right decision. Thank you. Yeah. Because that just comes up so often.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never heard, you shouldn't have gave it to me. I've only ever heard, thank you. It provided me the relief I needed to let go. And also, as I'm sure Victoria's heard too, is I needed you to step out. I could have never willingly left by your side.
Wow.
I needed you to walk away so that I could go. Or even so that they would have other family and spirit come and surround them and say, it's time. You gotta go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the most heartbreaking questions I get is so-and-so mad at me? Is my loved one mad at me? And you're sitting there in this kind of weird space where you can literally feel the love, right? Coming, just beaming at you and filling you up. And it is so far outside the bounds of any semblance of anger or residual resentment or residual, even frustration. You don't feel any of that from them. They're just beaming love, 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 love. And so the concept that they could be mad at this person is so outside the realm of their existence that it's almost funny. It's so crazy to think that all of this beaming love could have anything to do with residual anger or, a lasting grudge. It just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. But convincing someone of that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Because a lot of times people miss their loved ones so much that the only thing that they can hold on to is the guilt. The only thing that they can hold on to is the guilt. And so they wear it like it's their sweater. And they're just never going to take it off. And it's really difficult to convince them, no, trust me. They love you. They thank you. They are grateful. They will always love you and will always be grateful. Not a moment of their crossing from one plane to the other was spent in frustration or anger. In that moment, they left you with nothing but love, and they continue to feel that. But when they get it, when it sinks in, you can just see the lifting of that burden, that weight. And it is everything. It is everything. I can have 50, frustrating sessions in a row and take one of that and be like, yep, signing up to this again. Let me go. Let's go. It's the most satisfying, most wonderful, most lovely feeling that you can experience as a medium, is seeing that weight and burden lifted.
And grief is a fickle, mistress. It can really act as a magnifying glass. And in those moments, that's exactly what's happening is your client is so zoomed into those final moments that they're essentially abandoning a lifetime of joy, of goodness, and then the gift that their loved one has just had by getting to the other side is the zoomed out experience. They've taken their perspective and they've made it panoramic and they see all things at once. So the last thing they are caught up on is one moment of
Right.
less than perfect grace or less than joy.
Right. Right.
So if you could say one thing to the people listening right now, who are carrying that guilt and silence, what would be a gentle mantra that you could perhaps share with them?
Is it serving you? Is feeling that guilt serving you in any positive way whatsoever? And if it is not, why would you think your loved one would want you to hold on to it?
That's
Your
beautiful.
suffering doesn't honor them.
Right.
Your suffering doesn't honor them.
Right.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry, I'm getting very emotional.
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's heavy and things come up. And that's why we tell people say, oh, I'm sorry if I cry. And I say, please cry.
Yeah.
That is
It's
grief
release.
leaving your body.
Yeah.
Tears are grief leaving your body. Release. That's what mediums we hold space for. We want you to bring it all to the table and to let it go on ours so that you can leave us feeling lighter.
Yeah. And the fact that resonates with you, Signy, is just a beautiful testament to what a
really
beautiful
does.
soul you are. You
Yeah.
know?
So thank you. When you were speaking about how your family members who have passed on love to be in the home. When I am out in my garden, my mother was an incredible gardener. She could find a piece of driftwood on the beach. I always joke about this. And she could sprout that thing and make it grow. A dead piece of wood. She was amazing. And she had pruning shears and took cuttings everywhere she went. And I learned all of those gifts from her, which is I'm so grateful for. When I am out in my garden, her presence is so palatable. She is so there with me, and I just know that she's joyful. I just know that she's watching me and dancing around throughout my peonies with the butterflies and the honeybees and all the things that she, taught me to appreciate so greatly that it's really wonderful.
As in every profession, there are those who exploit. The psychic field is no exception. There are people who manipulate the vulnerable, sometimes financially, sometimes emotionally. It's real. What have you witnessed, and how do you protect your clients from harm? And I think even more important, a piece of wisdom to give our viewers is, what advice would you give someone looking for an ethical, trustworthy psychic?
I think the worst things that I have seen are sort of those traditional, unfortunately, true rumors of you have an entity, you have an attachment, you have a curse. There's no such thing as entities, attachments, curses. People go, oh, well, the curses are real because of it. Well, it's your belief system. So if you're going to believe that you're cursed, then you're going to look for things that are happening to you and believe that. But I think it's really just, taking advantage of people's fears. And I know I had one woman, this was pretty early on in my career, who came in and she must have been probably in her 60s. And her son had died, I want to say about 20 years ago. And she, 20 years ago, had a reading, at this time, it was probably in the 90s, and from a psychic in California who had done a reading for her on a cassette tape and shipped it to her. And she came to me, her son came through with flying colors, and she was just dumbfounded. She couldn't believe this. And then she told, she's just crying and she just is looking at me like deer in the headlights. And I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And she told me she had brought the tape and she said, I've carried this with me for 20 years. This person told me it was my fault that my son died. And to me, the gravity of how what you say can impact somebody, that's never left me. And I just,
Wow.
I was heartbroken for her. So I know Victoria and I are so careful with our wording and what we're bringing forward. We're supposed to be a source of comfort and love and guidance and good things, that I'm always careful what to say to people. But I also am deeply aware that sometimes we're pushed to say things like we talked about before that are uncomfortable or that we might not feel I can look and go, how could that be helpful? And I have to trust that the other side sometimes will give me a little bit more information. Ask her this first, and then you'll understand why I'm saying share this. Because there are times I used to tell people I never predict death. I don't get that. It never comes up. It's unethical. And then I had a family who was losing a woman who was losing her husband with 2 small children to ALS. And it had been a really long, difficult, multi-year battle. And it was just, I know we're close, but I don't know how close. And I need to be able to support my children and myself in the best way possible through this death. What can you tell me? And so it's like at that moment, it became really ethical to try to walk with her through that timeline and to be able to give her the information she could have to make the best decisions possible for her family. So it's like Victoria was saying, there's rules we try to stick to, but there's always going to be exceptions too.
Luckily, I think that the harm that gets caused by the less ethical is somewhat rare, but it's the most known, the most well-known, the most heard about, which is really unfortunate because you can have a 1,000 ethical, conscientious, good, wonderful intuitives out there, and you get one person who tells a mother that her son's death is her fault, and that proliferates, and it taints all of us. And it's really frustrating to try and not in the moment say something like, well, that psychic's batshit crazy. She never should have told you that, because that's our first gut reaction is like, what a horrible person, right?
Mhm.
So extending grace to perhaps people who probably misinterpreted the message, giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know how I could give that person the benefit of the doubt, but trying in those instances is tricky. It's really tricky. So I just surround myself and recommend other intuitives that I've personally had a session with. I won't recommend anybody that I have not personally had a session with, and trust. And if I'm busy, or if I've read them too many times, or if I feel like what they're really looking for is a little bit of a deeper immersion into a mediumship kind of session, then I'll send them to Karissa. I refer a lot of people to Karissa.
Her.
And I avoid sending her the crazies. That's another thing is you can always tell when like another psychic's like got it in for you, because like you get someone who's like, no, you don't understand.
Well, no,
I'm cursed. Why are you saying it?
It's a tribute to your level of trust between each other,
Mhm.
which I think is beautiful.
If someone's just looking for some type of guidance, are there any like things to watch out for?
If you walk in and there are a bunch of props,
Okay,
You
that's a
know?
good thing. No, but that's a good
Too many
thing.
candles.
No,
If
that's
it's more
a
than
good
10,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
you
please
gotta go.
get out.
If
That's
there's
a fire
add-ons,
hazard anyway.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what's important, like especially as we were talking about with the ethics, is as Victoria was finishing, is that's why we can't stay hidden. That's why we can't stay in the shadows, because it just breeds this culture of what we do doesn't have this open conversation where people can come to the table, debate ethics, debate how our process is, and debate these things. We might get flack for it. We might have to face stereotypes, but we need to be doing this and creating classes and ethical trainings and supporting each other so that
Right.
people are not just doing this in their closets with all their baggage, and whether it's religion or culture or whatever, and that gets spewed into the readings.
Yeah. I think too, another good marker, Tyler, is if you walk out of a session with an intuitive feeling worse than when you went in, then that's a big red flag. I'm perfectly willing to let you know there could be trouble ahead on a certain pathway. We've got a lot of uncertainty in the economy, and there are, I know, uncomfortable conversations that await me. But the whole reason to come to me is because you're worried about that. And I can say, okay, so maybe this rug gets pulled out from underneath you, but you know what? Here's the solution. And I'm seeing that timeline. And if you just do a little tweaking here and be patient, you can make it to the next horizon. And people who leave readings with an intuitive or a medium feeling guilty, feeling like, oh my gosh, there's this curse on me, or there's trouble ahead that I will just get barreled over with, and there's no hope, blah, 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 blah. That's not someone to go back to or recommend again. And another, I think, big red flag is psychics who are like, come back next week, come back the week after that. Keep coming back.
That's what I was going to say. Or somebody who says, presents to you that you have a dark or evil entity attached to you, you need to go and get these things and come back to me and we'll do like a cleansing or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Definite indication. Definite
Yeah,
indication.
which is ego, right? If
Yeah.
it's ego based, that's how you know to get rid of it. It's just
Yeah.
like this whole idea of
Well, that seems like a sham
there's
if
you have
somebody's telling you that you have something attached to you and you have to come back and get my help in order to rid yourself of it.
For sure.
But you'd be surprised. I mean, even people fall susceptible to the whole like, oh, I need to cross this person over. He's stuck. I mean, that's the same thing. That's ego. Think about it. Why would spirit need a human's help? Right.
Mhm.
We are beyond our laws and physics to
Right.
like to do something they've already done. I mean, that's just crazy. But
Right.
people do, out of fear, fall into these traps. And so in those moments, you think like an educated, sane person is not going to believe they have an attachment to them. But everybody has been down on their luck and eventually been a victim and wondered or thought I'd do anything to get rid of this. And I think we have to be respectful of people may be coming to us in those spaces. And that's what I would say is if you're in that space and you are so vulnerable, it's probably not the right time for a reading.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
That's the time to see a therapist.
It also, I have to share, and I know I shared this, or maybe I didn't, I don't remember, but I was fortunate to have Victoria do a reading for me. And actually, when we had done the interview, when we were finished taping, she had said, I just want to share with you that you're going to have, and I say this out of love for you, you're going to have, these certain months are going to be really rocky for you, and it's going to smooth itself out. You're going to come out of it. You're going to be okay. And I sat there with my, with my mouth hanging open going, because it had already begun to happen and it was happening. And the fact that you shared that with me and then said to me, you're going to be okay. You're going to, it's going to soften up. But you would ask me about traveling. I had a huge trip planned. My passport had expired. I forgot I hadn't gotten my real ID yet, had to cancel that trip. And you'd ask me questions about traveling and just said, you're going to try and do things and they're not going to work. And it's going to be frustrating. And it just helped me so much to ride through it.
Yeah.
It really did. It made a huge difference for me. And I thank you for that. So
My pleasure. My pleasure.
But you did it so diplomatically, which was beautiful. So.
Not my
She's
first
more
rodeo.
graceful than she gives herself credit for,
I love her so much.
Yeah, we do. We're like, we're going to have t-shirts for her that said, we love Victoria, and it's going to have to say, and Karissa.
Yes, I've already collected Karissa too. Obviously, our show is illuminating. It's giving people wisdom to walk away with. Any parting words?
I would say you're never truly alone, especially in the moments where you feel most alone. That's when you are most surrounded by those on the other side, whether they're grandparents you knew in this life or even great-grandparents that you didn't know. You have a team, you're supported, you're loved. You might not all see it in the moment, but things can always get better and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. It's always okay, right? It's that phrase that if it isn't okay, it's not the end yet, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we all exit this world on a high note. The circumstances surrounding that exit may not always be ideal, but we're bouncing to a really good place. And if you just aim your compass at that knowledge that you're going to be just fine, even when you cross, then you can kind of live this life a little bit more carefree and know that your loved ones are looking for the joy in your life. So pack it full of joy.
Absolutely.
And you
remember,
can
don't
find,
need us.
yeah, exactly.
We
And
love
if you
to do
need-
readings, but you don't need us.
But if you do need a reading, you can find
If you do need
Karissa.
a reading, yeah.
You can find Karissa at Karissa
Mm-hmm.
Eve Medium.
Medium. That's
Okay.
right.
Karissa Eve Medium.
And Victoria.
At VictoriaLaurie.com.
There you go.
Well,
So we're here if you need us, but you can talk to them directly. We promise.
will
Ask
have-
for signs.
We will have all of those links at the end of the podcast as well.
Yeah.
So, Victoria and Karissa, we cannot thank you.
This was
enough
awesome.
For your love, your heart, your clarity. I'm going to get all choked up again. And to our audience, thank you for being part of this summit. Until next time, before I start crying, stay curious, stay open, and keep seeking the significance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye,
both so
guys.
much.